They say there once was a man so poor that even the dust envied him. But one morning, he met a kingi, and that meeting didn't just change his fortune. It changed the way the world understood wealth. In a forgotten village beyond the Golden Hills lived a Liam, a poor farmer who owned nothing but his hands. He worked from sunrise to nightfall, yet hunger was his closest friend. Every night, he looked up to the castle lights and whispered, "Why does fate bless some men with gold and others with suffering?" One evening, a royal carriage broke down near his field. The king himself stepped out, cloaked, silent, watching the poor man working. Instead of asking for help, the king said, "Tell me, farmer, if I gave you a single gold coin, what would you do with it?" Iliam hesitated, then answered by food, "Your Majesty. And if I gave you 10, I'd build a roof. And if I gave you 1,000, then I'd never work again." The king smiled, but his eyes darkened. "Then you understand nothing about wealth." The king ordered his guards, "Bring this man to the palace. I have work for him." The villagers laughed. "The poor fool is going to be a slave." But the king only whispered to himself, "No, I'm going to make him a king without a crown." Inside the palace, Liam saw tables of gold, food, and jewels. The kingi said every morning, "You will polish my gold, but for each coin you clean, one will be yours." The poor man trembled. Finally, fortune had smiled at him. Yet after 3 days, something strange happened. He stopped counting. He began working faster, humming songs. He felt joy not in the gold, but in the rhythm of his own labor. After a week, the king visited him again. "How many coins have you earned, Liam?" The man looked down. "I haven't counted, my lord. I was too busy polishing." The king laughed. "Then perhaps you've already learned half the lesson." That night, the king left a chest of gold unguarded near Liam's chamber. The servant who passed by whispered, "Take it. The king will never know." But Liam's heart raced. His hands shook, yet he turned away. "If I take what I haven't earned, I lose what I've become." The next morning, the king appeared again. "You refused the chest." "Yes, Majesty." "Then you've learned the second half." Days turned into weeks. Liam worked, saved, gave to the servants who were poorer than him. He started smiling more, not because he had gold, but because he finally felt worth. One day, the king said, "Liam, walk with me." They climbed the tallest tower overlooking the kingdom. Below, thousands of people worked. Farmers, smiths, mothers. "Tell me," said the king, "who among them is rich?" Liam looked and answered softly, "Those who give without fearing to lose." The king nodded, almost tearful. "Then you are richer than I ever was." The king removed his own ring, the royal seal, and placed it in Liam's hand. "From this day on, you are keeper of the royal treasury." Liam was stunned. "But I'm just a farmer." "Exactly," said the king. "That's why you understand its value." Years passed. Under Liam's care, the kingdom prospered, not because of gold, but because he taught people how to earn, share, and give thanks. He would often tell the young apprentices, "Gold is heavy, gratitude is light. One can build a kingdom, the other builds a soul." When the old king was dying, he called Liam one last time. "Do you remember the day I found you polishing dirt?" "Yes, Majesty." "I wasn't looking for a servant that day. I was searching for a man who could polish the soul of a kingdom." Tears fell from Liam's eyes. "You gave me wealth beyond gold." The king smiled weakly. "No, Liam, you found it yourself." After the king's death, people built statues of Liam beside the throne. But on his statue, no gold was used, only stone. Because he once said, "If my story must be told, let it shine not with gold, but with truth." Generations later, his words became a saying throughout the land. A man is truly rich the day he stops counting. So remember, The poorest man who met a king didn't receive riches. He discovered the secret every soul must one day learn. Gratitude turns labor into gold.